Hey y'all, Cordy Coder here with a video on beginner fire spinning for nunchucks. Just some tips and guidelines to get you started with spinning fire. I made all of my fire nunchucks. You may want to make yours. There's a couple great tutorials that I'll post on here as well. But there are two methods to wicking them, and one is the single screw method, which is what I did here, and there's a wooden core in each of these two pipes. These pipes are actually the pipes from the drum set for Rock Band. I finally found a use for them after all these years. And the metal for these are just some old crutches that I cut and then wicked on there. And the second method for wicking is using a wire, a bendable wire that's pretty thick, and locking them in there. And I'll post videos to those, as I said. But what you're going to want to do when you make your first chucks, or if you buy them, just know what length you want. Anything under 12 inches is pretty dangerous, and the bigger the wick, the more length you're going to want. And also, before you spin, you should have your fire chucks, of course. Some sort of fuel. This is Coleman's camp fuel, and the difference, and there's another camp fuel called lamp oil. Those are the only two that I've ever used. But camp fuel burns faster, hotter, and it could possibly transfer if you do a bounce and then the liquid jumps off and jumps on your clothes. That's a possibility. So don't use camp fuel for your first burn. Use lamp oil. And lamp oil is a colder burn, so it doesn't burn as hot or as fast. It's kind of hard. It's a little bit harder to light initially, but once you get it lit, it should stay lit. That's what I recommend for your first burn. And then later on down the road, start mixing Coleman's into it. Maybe a 50-50 mix, so you still have the bright, hot, burns, but they're also a little bit shorter, or a little bit longer. They last a little bit longer. And then also have a dip can. I use a glass container, and I don't recommend plastic. You can use it, but if you do use it, be sure to clean it out after every use, because the plastic will dissolve into the fuel if it just sits there for too long. And then if you get plastic in your fuel and you put that on your wicks, that's going to mess up your wicks. So don't do that. As for lighting up for the first time, you're going to put your chucks in your can or canister or whatever you're using. You can use metal or glass, preferably. Or if you're really ghetto, I guess you could just put them on the ground and fuel them up, but I wouldn't recommend that, because then you'll get stuff all in the grass and in the runoff. It's not good for the environment. And what you do is you put it in your container, put it on the ground. I'm just having it up here so I could show you, and then pour your liquid into it, letting it sit for a couple, like 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a good rule. Take it out, drip it, make sure, it'll keep dripping for a while. And then what I do when I burn is I'll light it, and you always hold it like a torch. So you always hold it at the bottom near the chains with both handles pointing up, because flame travels up. And what I'll do is I'll spin it off, and as I come down, I whip it like I'm chopping, and then the remainder of the fuel that is on there will be splashed onto the ground. And don't put your foot over it. Don't put your leg over it. Put it completely to your side so you're spitting it down on the ground. And once you get that done, you can do that before you light it up. If you're too scared of the flame getting on the ground, or you're in a place where you can't do that, you can just do it off in the grass somewhere, just making sure you get all that excess fuel off, because if you spin it towards you and the fuel goes in your eye, it can be flaming fuel or it could be just regular fuel. It's still, neither is fun. So you get that done, and then you can continue spinning. And there are a couple things that you should know about things you can't do. You can do pretty much everything you can do with regular chucks, but the things you cannot do are letting it sit like this. If it sits like this, then the flame will travel up the grip, perhaps catching the grip on fire or melting part of it, and when you do a hand roll, you're grabbing melted wick or melted grip. Don't do this, and when you have them, when you're ready to stop, if you have to, put them in both hands and then transfer them to one hand like a torch, and then set it down and then go away if you have to. Put it out or whatever. And the method for putting out nunchucks are to have a wet towel, and you have the towel just sitting there, or somebody holding it, depending on how you put it on, and then smother it like that. Other things that you can't do are moves that you cannot do 100%. I can't stress it enough. You might want to try off this trick that you can do half the time, and if it goes wrong with fire, then it can go horribly wrong. But if it goes wrong with regular nunchucks, you might just get a bruise. But be sure to do tricks you're only 100% capable of doing. And before you light up, I highly recommend you get really acquainted with the fire chucks. And what you can do while you're practicing to prevent the wicks from fraying, which happens on concrete, you can put a sock over it and then tie it with a rubber band right here, and then it'll be nice and good whenever you are ready to burn with it. Or even if you can have some socks lying around, you can use those as covers to practice with. That's about it, but be safe and enjoy fire spinning. It's fantastic. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.